Alaska blogger Sarah Palin touched off a battle last night with Georgia blogger Newt Gingrich. And the winner in the blue trunks is the Democratic Party. Our fourth story tonight, the battlefield, a special congressional election next month in a conservative district in upstate New York that has divided the entire National Republican Party and threatens to cripple it for next year's war for control of the House of Representatives. Meet State Assemblywoman Didi Skazafava, Republican chosen by local Republican leaders to run in next month's special election in New York's 23rd district on the Canadian border, endorsed by the NRA top congressional Republicans and former Speaker Newt Gingrich, who engineered the 1994 Republican takeover of the House. But not conservative enough, we learned last night, for Sarah Palin. Writing in the political journal Facebook that, quote, "There is no real difference between the Democrat and the Republican in this race." Palin, therefore, breaking with the party that nominated her for vice president to endorse a third-party candidate in the New York 23rd, who she says has not been anointed by any political machine. Conservative Party candidate Doug Hoffman has been anointed by any number of political machines, including Palin's own Sarah PAC, and some which are now openly at war with Republicans. The American Conservative Union and New York Conservative Party, which considered Rudy Giuliani way too liberal to endorse for mayor, both now calling on all GOP donors to stop supporting the National Republican Congressional Campaign Committee, the Republican committee raising funds for House candidates for 2010 all across the country. Former House Republican leader Dick Armey also yesterday taking up arms against Republican hopes in this race.
Republicans lost this race when they put up that big spending liberal candidate.
That's right.
That candidate that's for card check. That candidate that thinks that the president's stimulus plan was a good idea. I get the sense that Tea Party activists are committed to this.
We're joined now by Democratic strategist Chris Kofinas, who served as communications director for the 2008 John Edwards campaign. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Lawrence.
Chris, I had trouble suppressing my glee in introducing this subject tonight. With Palin and Gingrich going at it like this, is it possible that someone I failed to even mention might actually win this race?
Well, amazing. I think the Democrat, Bill Owens, he may win this thing, and that's why the reason why I say that's amazing is that no Democrat has held this seat since the Civil War, and it's kind of ironic to say the least that it is a Republican Civil War that has broken out that may hand a pretty safe Republican seat to the Democrats. I think the other part to this, and I think this is even more interesting, is this battle between Newt Gingrich and Sarah Palin. That, I think, is an interesting preview to the 2012. You're seeing the conservative part of the Republican Party starting to splinter between one faction, which I would probably put Gingrich in, which is obviously conservative, but a little bit more pragmatic, and the Palin, which is this, ideologically pure, that believes if you don't fit her vision or her model of a conservative, you can't even be a Republican. Either way, it spells bad news for the Republican Party.
Chris, as you know, I worked for Senator Moynihan, and so I understand campaigning in that part of New York, and this is how hard it is for a Democrat to win in that territory. FDR never won there when running for governor of New York or president. Bobby Kennedy never won there when running for Senate in New York. Daniel Patrick Moynihan was only one county in New York that he could not win. That's where it is. It is Republican territory. What does this say about 2010 when Republicans are supposedly going to be storming back to Congress if in their own dissension they can't even hold on to a safe seat?
Well, the 2010 strategy for the Republican Party basically boils down to let's pray that 1994 happens again. And the mistake in that logic is, they're wedded to this notion that this historical trend is if the incumbent party controls the White House, there's going to be a backlash in the midterms. And that is true historically, but you also saw in 96 and you also saw in 2002 that was not the case. So my instinct tells me, there has been a shift in the electorate, and this notion the Republican Party can just bet on history is just wrong. The other part, and this I think is even more troubling for the Republican Party, their brand is broken. 2 polls, both ABC and CNN, show the Republican IDs in terms of voters who ID themselves as Republicans at either 10-year or 26-year lows. This is a Republican Party that cannot communicate to voters, and voters are leaving them in droves and either moving to become independents or moving to the Democratic Party.
Democratic strategist Chris Kofinas, thanks for presenting your analysis in a dispassionate way and leaving the glee to me.
Thanks, Laura.